giving it further emphasis really, because the issues regarding consumer debt are not getting any less. And what we need to do is make sure that Essex Savers has access to as much capital as possible so that they can continue making loans to people who need them, and so that those people aren't then forced to use payday lenders or pawnbrokers or even loan sharks. They can actually come here and get an affordable loan. But we've had a change in the law recently which has enabled businesses to make deposits in credit unions, and what we're trying to do really is highlight that, because it costs them nothing. They've still got access to that money, but that money can be used to great effect by Essex Savers. What is good to see though is that here in Tilbury, Essex Savers is being very, very well used by the local community, and again we need to highlight that and make sure that people are aware that they can go to the credit union, to Essex Savers, rather than perhaps some of the more expensive and less legitimate sources of money.
That's a very subtle way of saying it, but it is a real problem for people, that almost a dark economy out here. And is that something you get a vibe about, or on your post box? Is that something that comes up?
It is, and it's something that's on the rise, and I think people are very vulnerable, particularly to doorstep lenders, people like Provident, and people focus on how much it's going to cost them a week to pay back a loan, and they don't realise that they're paying actually very significant rates of interest. Whereas if they come here, they're actually going to be paying a very low rate of interest. It's very economic for them, and quite often they're borrowing sums of money which frankly banks aren't interested in lending to them because they're too small amounts and it's not economic for them. But that bit of money will make a lot of difference to those people, so we need to make it easy for them, and that's the role that Essex Savers plays.
Whilst we're on the subject of the recession, since, say, for example, when we first interviewed you in September 2008, recession was on then, recession is still on now. As an MP, what vibe do you get as to where we are with this recession?
This recession is a very peculiar one because it's being caused by a contraction in credit. We all know about the global financial crisis. Basically, we were binging on credit in this country, particularly, both in government debt and consumer debt. And that's all been withdrawn because once the Chinese realised they were buying junk from the British government, they stopped buying it, and therefore we've had that contraction in credit. But the economic fundamentals never altered, which is why you're getting some peculiar signals in the economic figures. So on the one hand, the growth is really negative, but jobs are going up. So I think we can see positive signs that are coming out of this. I think people have really just tightened their belts. They have actually stopped binging on credit and really started to be more sensible with their money. And I'm quite confident that before too long we are going to be looking on the up.
And finally, so do you feel that, we talk about the area of regeneration, Thurrock, and we have business conferences, etc. But do you feel there is a future for Thurrock, and it is something?
Well, the future for Thurrock is very bright indeed, and certainly I think we're weathering the recession as well, if not better, than most areas of this country. I mean, we are seeing jobs being created. I know people always talk doom and gloom, and it's all woe is me. There's jobs being lost here, there, and everywhere. But I mean, if you take Petro Plus, and it was a tragedy that Petro Plus went, but it didn't even hit the unemployment figures locally, because there is so much buoyancy in the local economy that we are creating jobs quicker than we're losing them here in Thurrock. So the future is good.